He's a public relations specialist with a passion for saving the planet. James Hoggan owns a successful PR company here in Vancouver, and he's written a new book called Climate Cover-Up that demystifies how spin doctors and PR firms and resource companies are pouring billions of dollars to convince the public that global warming and climate change is a myth. And James Hoggan joins us now. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
We should mention from the outset that you have always been an environmentalist. You are a volunteer for the David Suzuki Foundation?
I'm the chair of the board.
Okay. So this has always been a passion of yours.
Yeah, I've certainly been concerned about climate change for a number of years, but I wouldn't describe myself as an environmentalist.
Okay.
I'm a fairly, successful business guy who enjoys life the way successful people.
Now, is that because environmentalist is a bad word?
Well, it's not really. I've never really been an activist, but I am a PR guy, and I study my industry. I've been in the PR business about 30 years, and I came across this story. I've always been annoyed by people who are deceitful in public debates, and this book is all about a deceitful public relations campaign that's aimed at confusing the public about climate science.
And that's something that you discovered in your business, being a public relations specialist, that there are just as many companies hire PR people and spin doctors to try and cast doubt in the minds of the public, which the court of public opinion is the most important thing, to suggest that climate change isn't happening. And that didn't start until the 90s.
Most people in the public relations business understand that public debates and informed public decision making take place when you balance advocacy with honesty. But there are some people who are just pure advocates, and they'll go so far as to just put this kind of a campaign. We called it a confusion campaign because it was aimed at creating doubt about legitimate climate science.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that what we found over 4 years of research kind of astounded us, because we kept looking for what was motivating these people. We just kept finding the answer to that being money, and then we would ask, what kind of qualifications do these people have? It's very difficult to find a legitimate climate scientist who is not worried about climate change.
So here's what it seems like in the beginning chapters, at least. Basically, in the 70s and 80s, all of the scientists who were true scientists agreed that climate change and global warming was imminent unless we did something, and it was man-made. All of the governments, Canada, the U.S., all the governments agreed with that, and then this big campaign started with people, like you were saying, casting doubt that there were climate change deniers, and the media, journalists, caused a huge part of that confusion among the public as well.
Yes, Gore started doing his slideshow in the 80s. So this, when we started looking into this, into the PR in this, it was about 5 years ago. Virtually every major scientific academy in the world, the Royal Society of Canada, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the National Academy of Sciences, NASA, the list just goes on and on, all agreed that the climate was changing, that humans had something to do with it, and that it was serious. But if you looked in the mainstream media, there was this raging debate. So we said, where is this coming from, right? So that's what this book is about. It looks at a campaign that started in the United States, financed by coal utilities and oil companies. Probably in excess of $200 million has been put into it over the past 2 decades.
It's a big money industry. And now the second part, which I found so interesting in this book, is now it's not climate deniers, it's climate delayers, which is also a huge problem if we don't act on this. We're out of time, James. Thank you for coming in. We can't get along in. But it is great talking about how the Stephen Harper government has taken to heart this Bush administration-like tactics to try and deny or delay climate change exists as well. So it's absolutely worth a read to educate yourself about how we can all get manipulated. Wesla, time to take a look at our weather forecast.
It's such a interesting topic, Randine.
It is.
We could go for hours about it.
We could keep James here for the rest of the hour.
Well, let's focus on micro weather, like what's happening here in Metro Vancouver right now. And we are dealing with cloudy skies today. It's not